Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we're discussing regarding new chapter from H. Robert. That is our remedies, why they act. The scientific reasoning behind the action of dynamic homeopathic medicines. Why in so minute quantity the medicine used to produce the action. The reasons he tried to explain over there. He is explaining it in order to answer the people who are labeling that homeopathy is a placebo action. But it is not a placebo action, and why it is not a placebo action, that's what he is trying to explain by taking the help of the basic sciences. Here he is correlating the things as mentioned in the biology, as mentioned in the physics, as mentioned in the chemistry, as mentioned by different scientists, and how those scientists came to the same conclusion that the things, even though we label them by the non-living, also reacts. And he has given the example of an Indian scientist, Dr. J.C. Bose, Jagdish Chandra Bose. And this fellow, he was the first person to tell to the world that, yes, even plants are also having the same reaction, susceptibility. They react to the external actions. And he has explained over there one more thing, even a dust particle also reacts. So there are, if you go on reducing any element, mineral, up to the level of an atom, even though it looks like an non-living thing, but still in its external sphere it has an electrons, and that electrons are not fixed every time. They are in restless phase unless and until they combines with something and then becomes fixed. They never become rigid. So those also are the entities which have a moment. Those affect the human beings. And then he explains that there are three sources, basic sources of homeopathic medicines: the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the mineral kingdom. And while explaining that, he is trying to explain over there, considering the mineral kingdom, there are very few elements which are present in Earth's crust. The first element which is there in the periodic table is the helium, and helium is abundant in the environment. Hydrogen, which is abundant in the environment. It forms it combines with other elements, but this is abundant, and this is part and parcel of human being. Second is helium. Then third, he has explained about oxygen. Fourth, he has explained about nitrogen, the nitrogenous products. Then he explained something about the aluminum and silicon. But these are only few which are present generally in either on Earth's crust or in the environment. And they are part and parcel of human body, human constitution. Nitrogenous products enters inside the body through the plant. They enters into the plant. We eat the plants, consumes that. They goes in our body in a very minute quantity, but tries to maintain the health. So even though their quantity is very minute, that tries to maintain the health. If that minute quantity is missing, it produces deficiency disorder. So same is true for all the elements which are part and parcel of our constitution, and even though so minute is the quantity, still it has a capacity to alter the state of health. Then he is turning towards the animal kingdom, and he has explained certain examples that the venoms, the snake venoms, how much poison is entered in our body when the snake bites. Very minute, but it has a capacity to produce the neurotoxic effects, the cardiovascular effects, even death. Same is true with the spiders. Same is true with the stings of bees. Same is true with many, many things such. And in a minute quantity, they affect the human body. We prepare medicines from the same sources, and we used to use them in so minute doses. And in that doses, it has a capacity to alter the human state of health. And that's why our remedies act. He's correlating the science with the homeopathic medicine. He's correlating the importance of minute things or minute doses and its action on human body with the sources of our drugs. So we were on page number 69. The paragraph number 3 we have finished. Let us start with the next. Thus, we may pass on to a consideration of plant life as source from which we may expect to derive useful remedy. We expect and find great reaction from all those growths which manifest in their natural states the power of protection through defense by poisonous property. Thus, we find all members of the Rus family exceedingly active both in their crude state and in potentized form, affecting strongly the human organism in countless ways. Now he is turning toward the plants. And there are many, many more plant remedies in our remedy. N number of, maximum now. Earlier there were very less, but it has been big number nowadays. And every remedy has effect on the human body. Even in minute quantity it works. He has given one example. Rus is the so strong acting poison, it is poison oak. Even though you just goes sideways the rus plant, it has a capacity to alter human state of health, producing reactions on the skin. So poisonous is the plant. So even by the touch, it has a capacity to alter the human state of health. So medicine, whenever the medicine is prepared from the rust stocks, then that medicine in the minutest quantity has a capacity to alter the human state of health. The list of plants that strongly affect the human organism ranges through all forms, from the form that approaches, from the forms that approach the animal development in their power of capturing and devouring the insects, such as Drosera, the Sarracenia purpurea, to the lowliest and hardiest growths, such as Sticta pulmonalia, and is almost endless. To do more than glance at a long list of possibilities that open to the homeopathic physician through this source would be a task far too long for one chapter. We may take ourselves at once to the observation of those substances that may be most truly said to be non-living. 8. Which must enter largely into composition of living and that encompasses. So there are many plants. Drosera is the carnivorous plant. In the Drosera plant, it captures the animals. And when it catches, it holds it. And the medicine which is prepared over there from the Drosera, which has both the properties, the vegetable properties as well as the animal properties. It is a remedy which has both the actions. The remedies has the both typical features. So there are many more remedies and there are many more sources. The properties those medicines carries, whenever we prove with the homeopathic method, that is either by trituration or succussion, and use it in the provers, it used to produce a typical features over there. Even more deeply acting than the venoms, we find minerals and chemical elements. Plant life, through its power of simplifying these substances readily, from the closest relationship to the mineral kingdom. For here, the elements are often absorbed and made available for ingestion into animal directly or in new combination that render them even more active. Thus, we see the reasons for pulsatile strong action on human economy. Dr. Underhill tells us that pulsatile is one of the most effective chemical laboratories known, assimilating the mineral content and element in the soil and rebuilding it into a most deep acting and complicated influence upon the human organism. Now we turn towards the two things, the plants and elements. Every plant contains the elements. Why that plant, whenever utilized for the purpose of medicine or as a for the proving, it used to produce the results or it used to produce a typical presentation because it carries certain elements inside. If we consider a lycopodium plant, the lycopodium plant itself carries more silica in it. And that's why if we prove the lycopodium and silica, both of them have a very close relationship. Both of them presents very similar type of manifestation. So every plant has a different combination of different elements absorbed from the soil. And that's why they have very close relationship with certain elements. If we take into consideration the pulsatilla, the chemical analog of pulsatilla is kalisulfuricum and kalimuraticum. They are very close association, both of them having a similar manifestation because pulsatilla plant contains more kalisulfuricum inside it. Those elements are there more in amount in pulsatilla plant, and that's why they have analogous relationship. So such a study which we have to learn, we have to understand, and we have to show to the world why this similarity is there, why the presentation is similar, why in a minute quantity it used to produce acute reaction. When you consume a kali sulfuricum, it takes little bit time to react because kali sulfuricum being an element or mineral, you has a capacity to alter human state of health not so acutely. But same element when passes through the pulsatilla plant, it becomes more digestible, more absorbable and shows a very immediate reaction. And that's why pulsatilla becomes more active or produces more acute reactions as compared to the kali sulfuricum, even though they looks very similar. The most cursory glance at the chemical elements of our most common plant remedies must reveal how deeply bound these are to the chemical elements of the light weight, far below the atomic weight of those known to be radioactive, and these may be classed as those written by Millikan. To quote again from the same source we have quoted above, for the great majority of elements such as constitute the bulk of our world are in their state of maximum stability already. They have no energy to give up in the disintegrated process. They can only be broken apart by working upon them and by supplying energy to them. Man can probably learn to disintegrate them, but he will always do it by the sweat of his brow. But having thus disposed of process of atomic disintegration and found it completely wanting as the source of available energy, since the radioactive elements are necessarily negligible in quantity, let us next see what there is to be learned about the process of atom building as a source of energy. Here he is giving the example of Millikan's book. Millikan, he has tried to explain all those things. There are certain radioactive elements. For example, we'll take into consideration our book contains radium brome. It is a radioactive element. If this radium is there in the nature, in its natural form, it emits certain rays, it throws away, and it goes on disintegrating. When it gets disintegrated, when it throws maximum of its rays, then and then its atomic weight becomes less. And same element, which was called to be a radium earlier, now labeled as a different element because its atomic weight is reduced and the new element is formed. This disintegration is there because it itself disintegrates the energy. And certain remedies which are prepared from such radioactive substance act so strongly in the human being not necessary to triturate it so much or to succus it so much, because in their natural form, they emit the energy, the rays. As compared, there are certain elements which are very firm, which are very rigid. For example, iron, which in its natural form never shows any properties even though you consume the iron. If you consume by chance iron, any piece of iron, nothing will happen to your body. It will be expelled as it is without causing any change inside your body, because it is not at all active in that state. If you want to prepare medicine from it, then you have to follow the Hahnemannian method, or you have to follow a typical homeopathic method through which you can prepare medicine from it. Then you have to make it simplified, and then only attack. So either unless and until we apply energy from outside or force from outside, these substances in crude form, which are inactive or inert, never becomes active substances. And this is what Millikan says, that he is explaining about he is explaining that in crude form, even though they are inert, in homeopathic doses, in potentized forms, they liberate the energy, and that's why they act on human body. So the scientific explanation he's trying to put, that why our medicines are acting, because we are liberating the energy by the process of trituration as well as by the process of succussion. Further, Millikan goes on, the recent experimental work on cosmic rays have just thrown a flood of light on the process going on in this universe in which we live. For first Dr. Cameron and I have recently found 3 definite cosmic ray bands or frequencies of penetrating powers or ray energies, respectively, about 1250 and 100 times the maximum possible energies that are and can be obtained from any radioactive, that is, any disintegrating process. The highest frequency band has so enormous a penetrating power that it passes through more than 200 feet of water and enlighten and or 18 feet of lead before becoming completely absorbed, while 2 or 3 inches of lead absorbs the hardest gamma rays. This discovery of a banded structure in the cosmic rays shows that these rays are not produced, as are X-rays, by the impact upon the atoms of matter of electrons that have been acquired large velocities of falling through powerful electric fields. As we earlier suggested, the fields necessary to produce frequencies as high as those of highest observed cosmic rays are equivalent to 216. It is nearly about 216 millions volts, but that they are rather produced by definite and continually recurring atomic transformation, involving very much greater energy chances than any occurring in the radioactive process. So this is what Millikan is saying over there, that all those substances, radioactive substances, which emits the rays over there, emits the energy over there, and it produces so much of volts of energy. There is in atomic transformation happens. The energy which is expressed by those radioactive substances, because they are in active form, and because of which those radioactive substances from which we prepare our medicines works on human body. We have radium brom, we have the X-ray that as a medicine, and go through those medicines, you can find it out that they works in a beautiful manner, because they are in an active state. We'll take simple example. Forget about those elements. Let us take simple example, that onion. Onion, even though you have not consumed onion, but just cutting onion affects your body. Nothing goes inside your body, but still just a smell of onion, and you are cutting the onion, immediately your nose and eye starts weeping, discharging. There is irritation. So in their crude state, they are so active that without even consuming affects your body. And that's why such medicines, you don't have to prove it into the higher potency. In a minute potency, they works beautifully. Same thing he is explaining over there. Those elements which are active in their crude form never require so much of deep proving. But those substances which are inert in crude form, you have to prepare it in such a manner, and we have to wait for the proving with potentization or succussion. But whatever it may be, it has action on the human body and human reacts to it. And to complete the paragraph from the Millikan, what he says, taking Einstein's equation and Aston's curve as a guide, there are no possible atomic transformations capable of yielding rays of the enormous penetrating power observed by us, except those corresponding to the building up and creation of the abundant elements like helium, oxygen, silicon, and iron out of hydrogen, or possibly in the case of last two elements out of helium. We have arrived at a pretty definite evidence that the and observed cosmic rays are the signals broadcast throughout the heavens of the births of common elements out of positive and negative electrons. So he is explaining over there one more example of the cosmic rays. He is explaining over there the action of the helium, oxygen, silicon, iron, how these are the substances which have the capacity to affect the human being. These are the elements which affect the human body in both ways, through the positive electrons as well as through the negative electrons. But they have the capacity to produce action on the human body at the dynamic plane and used to produce the symptomatology. So if those elements which are there on earth and which are nothing but a part and parcel of human constitution, and always they are always there inside our body in order to maintain health, as if they are deficient produces symptomatology, and if you use those as medicines in the same dynamic form by the process of trituration or succussion, works as a medicine because they are always in the similar minute doses. I think we'll stop over here, and tomorrow we might finish this chapter, the scientific reasoning behind action of our medicines. So this is the wonderful chapter in order to understand the scientificity, why our remedies act, how they are present in nature, how they have capacity to alter the human state of health, and how they works in the disease state also, producing or bringing back again the harmony. So that's all for today. We'll meet today evening along with a new remedy. We have finished, I think, the opium in yesterday. Half of the opium we have finished. Part 1 we have finished. Today we'll continue with the part 2 and we'll finish the opium in today's session. So be there and attend evening session at the 8:15. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.